Very good morning to all of you. I'd like to, first of all, thank BKPM and the team for inviting me to be here to speak at this notable event, which is supported by the Herald Tribune. I just landed back yesterday from Vientiane, Laos, to attend the Asia Year Meeting Summit, which was attended by quite a number of heads of states and many ministers from the respective zones, where we talked about the past and the current global issues, including some of the recent economic issues. Now, Indonesia, as you all know, has gone through a bit of a story that has been narrated in the last 14, 15 years in ways that I think people are increasingly describing it as more good than bad. We've gone from the state of being almost completely irrelevant to the point of being somewhat relevant. Relevance being defined by our having become a member of the G20 and being the largest economy in Southeast Asia, being the second highest growth economy in Asia after China, being a model that I think many economies and countries are looking at a lot more today than they ever have in the past. In the past, as you all know, many had predicted our fall more than those who predicted our rise. If we go back several decades, I think the characterization of Indonesia is quite interesting. From a geopolitical and political standpoint, we've gone through phases. The first one of which was how we became independent, and the latter part being somewhat a lot more democratic than how we were. But this democratization, I think, has gone through a few tests. And those tests are probably likely to repeat in the future. And it all depends on how the Indonesians take the view going forward. But how and the extent to which we can take these tests going forward will depend on the extent of our economic development. I think on the economy, you all know that investments have played a big part in the last few years. FDI has risen consistently at somewhat high levels, between 25 to 30%. Not only that, but the distribution of capital. Distribution of capital has gotten more dispersed, whereby fixed capital formation has taken place outside the island of Java a lot more than what it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. I remember when I was once the chairman of the BKPM, when I joined, capital formation outside the island of Java was only 18% of the total capital formation. But that percentage has gone up quite dramatically to around 46% by the year 2012. It means job creation has taken place outside the island of Java in a much bigger way than ever. I think it's good that we've seen this rise, but it's better if we can sustain the policies that have helped entail this good result in the past few years. The policies will always change, and the nature of the change, we have to make sure it is for the better. Now, it's up to you, and it's up to us to continue communicating with each other to make sure that those policies don't get misconstrued as the wrong policies, nor should they become the wrong policies. We're not perfect. I think we've gone through the phases where people have told us that some of our policies need to be more here and more there. And this is something that we've got to go through. And as a former businessman, it's never perfect for any businessman or woman. They always want, wish, and desire for more and better. But that's okay, because that's the sort of consultative nature of the conversation between the business community and the government. The other part of the economy in Indonesia that has made it somewhat buoyant is the domestic consumption. I've said many times in the past about the demographics of Indonesia being somewhat of a bonus or a blessing. And this is likely to continue. But I've always said that we've got to take advantage of this in ways that it doesn't just stay there. But we've got to take advantage of it in ways that we've got to make sure we educate the young. Now, this was a big part of our conversation with the European friends that we met in Laos and also in the UK in terms of ramping up both the non-tertiary and also the tertiary levels of education in Indonesia. Good news is we've got the fiscal space. Fiscal space is a lot more tremendous today than it ever was 5 to 10 years ago. Our tax ratio has come down, or has come up to 15.89%. And the tax base is also increasing. So our ability to fiscally allocate the spending for stuff that's important for us is bigger. And it's only going to get bigger by way of getting more and more people to pay taxes. And as you clearly have seen, the government has been able to take the right view on certain things that are important for us, whether it is giving tax allowances for about 129 sectors, or tax holidays for anybody that wants to be pioneering any particular investment thesis, or anybody that wants to be creating jobs in remote areas of Indonesia, or anybody that wants to promote development that would be good for Indonesia. That recognition has been given to people who wanted to take a proactive and positive view of Indonesia. What is lacking in this picture is the educational part. The educational part is the part that we've got to continue game changing. I've always said in the past that we need to have a lot more PhDs, we need to have a lot more masters, we need to have a lot more bachelor's degrees, we need to have a lot more polytechnic graduates, and we need to have a lot more plumbers. And these are the guys that are going to be able to shape Indonesia's future in a good way.